And to start off these delicious ribs, we gotta make a spice rub to rub on the ribs. So to start this off, we're gonna combine brown sugar, chili powder, cumin, paprika, dry red chilies, black pepper, garlic powder, oregano, and salt. Combine these in a bowl and mix them well, and this will be our standard barbecue rib that we're going to use for these ribs. Next, we're going to want to start to prep our ribs. So first things first, grab your rack of ribs and dry them off with a paper towel. If there's a membrane on the backside, make sure you remove them. Mine came without a membrane, so I didn't have to remove it. Next thing you're going to want to do is apply a binder. You can use anything like mustard, hot sauce, anything that's a liquid that'll bind the seasoning to the ribs. I decided to use Worcestershire sauce for this one, but you can use anything. Then next, what you're going to want to do is apply a hefty amount of your seasoning or your seasoning of choice to these ribs. Make sure you add enough so there's enough salt and seasoning throughout them. I patted them on to make sure every side of the ribs had flavor on both the back and the front. Make sure you put the binder on the back side too, as many people forget to do that. Once you've completed this for all your racks of ribs, we're going to get ready to create our sauce and then our side dish. So next thing we're going to want to do is start to prepare our pineapple habanero sauce. And we're using real pineapples and real habaneros for this one. So first things first, we're going to want to get a nice and ripe pineapple, and we're going to want to take off the peel and then start to cut this up into nice and square pieces. It doesn't really matter how you cut it because this is going to be cooked and then put into a blender and create into a sauce. But whatever, how I did it is I cut it in half and then cut it into quarters, remove the inside, and then I just chop these up. Once you get that done, we're going to also chop up some habaneros. I used about 5. If you want it more spicy, use more than 5. If you want it less spicy, use less. I think mine had the perfect amount, so I would use 5. Also chop up 1 onion and a few cloves of garlic. I used about 6. And then we're going to add all of this to a pan with some neutral oil in it. You shouldn't be adding much flavor to this, as we're really going to harness the sweets of the pineapple and the spiciness of the habanero. You know, this is where the bulk of the sauce comes from, so no extra seasoning is really needed. Once you get this, you're going to want to start to caramelize that, and in the meantime, get a big pot, and we're going to start to make the rest of our sauce. So we're going to combine some tomato paste, some tomato sauce, apple cider vinegar, water, brown sugar, maple syrup, honey, molasses. And if you don't get the point by now, what we're trying to just do is add a bunch of sugar to our tomatoes, which the tomatoes are the base of our sauce, and we're just trying to add a bunch of sugar because if you've ever had a barbecue sauce before, which is what we're trying to replicate today with the pineapple and habanero flavor, well, it's mostly tomato sauce at the end of the day, and it's also very sweet and reduced, so we need to add a bunch of sugar. And instead of adding high fructose corn syrup like the average barbecue sauce will, we decided to add some real forms of sugar like honey, molasses, and maple syrup to this one. I think it adds a great flavor and helps to create such a rich, delicious sauce. And then in addition to this, we're going to add plenty of spices, just like garlic powder, paprika, chili powder, oregano, red pepper flakes, and cumin powder. You could always add any more seasonings, whatever you like to this. I'm sure some chipotle powder would taste great. And then to finish this off, we're just going to add some salt and let this cook and reduce down for about 15-20 minutes. Now, as you can see here, our pineapple, habanero, and onion mixture is caramelized. It looks great and it's ready. So now what we're going to do is pour about half of our tomato mixture into a blender and put the entire pineapple and onion mixture into the blender. What we're going to want to do now is blend this up until it is very smooth. There should not be any chunks in our sauce. We want it smooth and emulsified. Once it is fully blended, add that back into the tomato sauce and mix this thoroughly and let this cook for another 15 to 20 minutes. We want this reduced. We want this to have the consistency of a barbecue sauce. A little bit more runny than a ketchup, but the same consistency as a barbecue sauce. We don't want this to be runny. And after that, our sauce is done. And in the meantime, let's just make our final part of this meal, that's not the ribs, our side dish. So I decided to make some mashed potatoes. So I took about 3 boiled potatoes, took the peel off them, and as you can see right here, I'm making some brown butter, which if you didn't know is just butter that's like cooked for 10 minutes. Make sure the butter doesn't burn because butter burns very fast. So cook it on low heat, and then add the butter, add some heavy cream, some parsley, some thyme, some oregano, some garlic, a bunch of Italian seasonings, and then mash this up well. To finish off, I just smoothed out the surface, added some chives and some olive oil, and now it's time to grill our ribs. Alright, so here we got the ribs. These are my pineapple habanero ribs. I made them, so I just want to say I smoked them. And then I made the barbecue sauce myself with real pineapples, real habaneros, tomatoes and all that. So homemade sauce. I got extra over there. We dipped into it. The smoked ribs, I cooked them for like 3 hours. And I made some mashed potatoes on the side. So go ahead and try them. Yeah. Yeah, fall off the bone. They pull right off.
Oh, what the heck? Yum. Oh my god. That's really good.
So I use potatoes, obviously, heavy cream, olive oil, some Italian seasonings, like you can see oregano, parsley, and then I also use brown butter. Usually people use like plain butter, but I use brown butter. It makes a big difference in the flavor.
Okay, Loki, what's brown butter?
Brown butter is basically just like, what caramelization is?
Oh yeah?
So you basically cook the butter for like 10 minutes on like low heat, let it boil until it's cooked but not burned. So the butter becomes brown and it has like an aromatic taste. But yeah, but you want to try this first?
Yeah, sure. Oh, this is nice.
Alright, it's way better than your average mashed potatoes,
Okay.
Most mashed potatoes is just potatoes, heavy cream, salt.
This is like crack.
Yeah, this is much better. But the ribs is where it's at. I was saying add some sauce to one of them and try that. Here, take this one. So you can really like try the sauce. It's like barbecue sauce that I made.
Okay, that's hot.
Like spicy hot or temperature?
No, temperature hot. Yeah.
Because I just warmed it up.
Christian, I'm a Thai man.
Nah, one day I'm gonna cook you like some real Indian food. It's gonna be hella spicy.
Oh, yeah.
This is not really spicy.
So what's your trick to good ribs?
These are actually cooked a little different than I usually cook them. Usually I cook them 2 hours at 250 degrees and then wrap them in 2 hours at 450. These I smoked them for 2 hours at 275 degrees with hickory wood in the grill. And then I cooked it for 1 hour at 400 degrees, covered with the sauce. So it developed like the sauce, bark and the flavor. And then when that was done, I just let it like sear on the grill for 10 minutes just to develop like a nice bark crust. And these came out pretty good.
Oh, yeah. All the moisture like kept dropping inside, so nice and juicy too. That's what people often struggle on. When they scoop,